Okay, hello, my very small audience of probably Mr. Calver and probably just a few of my friends who are just gonna see this. So I had a video project. Well, it's really more of a podcast, but a project where I just sit down, talk about the book that I read over the summer for 12th grade. Um, so yeah, Mr. Calver in advance. So the book that I read was V for Vendetta. It's not really a book; it's more of a comic. It really is a comic. It's actually the first comic I've read. I've never really been into comics, but for some reason this one caught my attention because I've seen a lot of people read it. I've never heard anything about the book, so I went in like completely blind. I've seen this character many times before, but I've just never, took an interest in it until now. And giving a smart summary, it's about this character by the name of V that just has these strange motives of wanting to cause anarchy or chaos within London. And London is actually very different. The book is set in 1997 through 1998, and it's not really post-apocalyptic, but it's a time after there was a great nuclear war in the late 80s that led to the rise of a ultra right-wing, very fascist group in Britain. We don't know much about what happened in America or the parts of the world, other than the world's just really broken right now. And he kind of wants to take down the government, get rid of all its power and everything that it's done. The book starts off with a character of a young 16-year-old girl named Eve, who is willing to become a prostitute because it's very hard to make a life in this country. And she gets into trouble with the Fingermen, which is basically the secret police for Britain. And V comes in and basically saves her by killing a man and basically just presenting himself to the audience too. He takes her back to his lair, and they both meet and talk, and we basically get presented to V. And for those of you who don't know, V is pretty much the character you see with the mask throughout the whole book. We never see what his true face is or anything. Well, and soon after he takes out all the people that would try to hurt Eve, you could see that he had a timed explosion for the Parliament building, and he just blows up the Parliament building like nothing, and it doesn't cause chaos other than extreme concern for who this person is, and a detective is sent to find who he is or just get rid of him and kill him. And I don't really want to give a lot of spoilers, but the premise of this book is just how he causes chaos in this country, and the people would try to stop him. But it's also about wanting to understand why he does these things and how, not really how he does these things, but how this affects the general population. And we're giving a very objective view of whether his motives are good or they're bad. Because if you look at it from one perspective, it's actually good motive. He's trying to take down a really bad government, but we don't know what the repercussions of that is. It could give uprise to an even worse government, or it could make the lives of people even worse than it already is. And skipping to the end of the book, V gets hurt really badly, and the character Eve comes to a realization of like what he actually stands for, that he's more than just a person. And yeah, that's how it ends. The country actually ends up going into chaos. We don't see exactly what happens right after, but I guess he kind of completed his goals at the end of the book. And I'm also supposed to answer just like 5 really simple questions about the book. I actually have the book right here. So the first question is, what was my favorite character? And I would have to say that my favorite character was in fact Eve. She was my favorite character because I feel like she represents the audience more. Uh, like it's kind of like if the audience was her character, because as she learns what he does, how he does things, and what he stands for, that's what's happening with the audience at the same time. When she realizes what V stands for, the audience also realizes what V stands for. It's kind of like that's how the comic gives us information. By the way that she learns, we also learn. So I just really like the character. V obviously comes in as a close second because he's a real anti-hero. He's technically a terrorist, but I don't know, I just prefer Eve. It's just a lot more interesting in my opinion. Second question was, what was my favorite scene? And my favorite scene really has to be the final scene in pages 246 to 251, where, spoilers, V is dying, and he tells Eve that she must know who he is without ever knowing how his face looks like. And when she takes off his mask, he sees the faces of many different people. And as she walks around the hallways of the bloody trail when he was shot, and she comes to the realization that V isn't just a person, he's a representation of his motives. The mask and everything, it doesn't matter who's doing it, as long as there's something representing what's going on. That's what really matters. And for me, that just sums up the whole theme of the book, that people don't really need to know why things are done more than I don't know how to explain, more than how to learn to understand why things are done. Not everything needs to be explained for them word to word, but this final scene really is the perfect summary of the whole book, in my opinion. That's why it's my favorite scene. It's also really captivating. The imagery, everything's really good about it. The next question is, what was my favorite line and why? And my favorite line is not just one line, it's V's opening dialogue. When Eve is about to get attacked by the Fingermen, V shows up and he gives he speaks in a very poetic way, while he uses a lot of I don't say some sound childish, but like really cool moves. And I don't know, that just really sets the tone for the whole book. That opening scene, it's filled with a lot of action, but yet there's a really good amount of storytelling within what he's saying, and that's my personal favorite line. It's also a really great introduction to the character of V. It's arguably, in my opinion, one of the best introductions to characters. A lot of times we just get a very simple hello, meet this character, but this is a really unique way to introduce a character. The next question is, how did I imagine the setting? And it was actually really easy because it was drawn out for me. But yeah, I don't really know how else to answer this question because it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a comedy. You get to see the setting. It's a very dark setting. There's not a lot of bright colors other than when there's explosions or things of that nature, but the whole tone is like a very blue, very depressing, not really futuristic, but it's just very interesting. It's kind of hard to describe. Who would I recommend this book to? This is actually, in my opinion, the hardest question here, because I'm not really a comic book fan. I have never been into comic books. This is, like I said, this is my first book I've read that's a comic book, and I really happen to enjoy it. So it might not appeal to a lot of people because there is some graphic imagery, but that's to be expected. I would recommend this book to people that haven't been exposed to comics. Like, if you want to, this is a very good comic book to start off. It really got me excited about reading these kind of books because I've never done it before. Reading this book also made me want to read more comic books because I used to think they were very simple, not very. I used to think they were they used to be childish, but as I read these comic books and I've seen other people's opinions on this book, it really is a great introduction to this genre of books. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about this book. I really did enjoy this book. I read it extremely quickly because I really liked it. The only thing I didn't like about this book was the price. It was $20, but hey, it's I think it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth a reread. I'm pretty sure once you read it again, you get to catch more things than when you read it the first time. But it's really a fantastic book. I really recommend this to a lot of people, not just a select group of people. And well, that's it. Thank you for listening, Mr. Calvert. Hope you liked it. I had to tell people to shut up because it's very loud in my house. So, thank you.